Okay. Terrible loss again for the Yanks yesterday, Max, with Acuna and Azuna homering, and really just the offense looking putrid against the All-Star Bryce Elder. One single against him, tons of double plays. My first question to you is: are we not accurately putting the tombstone up? Because should we have put an earlier date on that tombstone for their season? Or did you feel like last night finally said to you, I am not going to be working at ballparks in October?
I think we got to that point a little while ago. We came into this road trip, 9 game road trip against the lowly White Sox, the slumping Marlins, and then you've got a juggernaut in the Braves, right? But this is an opportunity for them to kind of turn their season around, take advantage of an opportunity to make a statement, start to climb back in the standings. And they're on the verge of going 2-7 on this road trip with some really brutal, debilitating types of losses that you could put in the loss of the year category. And if they lose tonight against the Braves, which they haven't exactly proven in this series that they're going to contend with this World Series caliber team, they're going to drop under 500. And I believe they haven't been under 500 since the very beginning of 2021. For them to be 500 right now, it says a lot about where this team is. And the only chance that they have is they return home for a homestand after this against the Red Sox and the Nationals. Maybe if you win all of those games or close to it, you can start to turn things around. But as much as the guys in that clubhouse are saying that they still have a run in them, they are running out of time. 42 games left, 6.5 games out of a playoff spot. It's not looking good.
You said this trip has really exemplified what their season is. What part of their team, outside of the offense, on this trip have you seen been like, wow, I didn't realize that they were that bad?
Well, I think it's the starting rotation because, you look at the other day, Clark Schmidt, who has been Mr. Consistency this entire summer, really holding it down as the number 2 behind Garrett Cole in a rotation that's been just plagued with adversity. Nestor Cortez out for the rest of the year. That was a bombshell when we were in Miami. He was supposed to have a homecoming start, coming back to Hialeah, the Miami kid, and he didn't get to pitch, and he's out for probably the rest of the year. Frankie Montas is probably going to miss this entire season, a disastrous trade from last year. Luis Severino is having the worst season of his career. He called himself the worst pitcher in baseball, and Carlos Rodon is back on the IL as well. So finally, Clark Schmidt is putting it together, and he has the worst start of his career in his homecoming, coming back to Georgia, giving up 8 runs to the Braves. And that might be a blip on his radar, but it's a testament to the fact that whenever anyone other than Garrett Cole is pitching and starting for this team, they are susceptible to clunkers and to putting this team in too big of a hole for the offense to climb out of. Because you said besides the offense, it really comes down to the offense, right? Because Severino goes out there yesterday and struggles in the first inning. And for all intents and purposes, the game was over because the offense just has not proven that they can put together multiple games in a row where they're producing and getting guys on base and driving them in. It's one or the other. And last night, one hit against a pitcher that, yes, he was an all-star and he's had a good season so far, but he came in, I think, with an ERA over 7 in his last 6 starts. And this whole summer, they've been giving up those really bad outings against pitchers that come in struggling. So it's not a surprise at this point.
Okay, then whose fault is it? Is it Cashman? I don't want to say Aaron Boone should be fired because you're only, as a manager, you're given the pieces, right? He tried it. They brought in Sean Casey. The offense hasn't gotten better. Everyone said Aaron Judge. And yes, the offense has been bad, but the bullpen has blown. I mean, Garrett Cole hasn't won. He's pitched great and hasn't won in a while because, the other day they blew, a 5-run lead in the 9th or whatever, some crazy thing. So, the bullpen's gone. The starting pitching is all banged up. At what point does it not – I know everyone's calling for Cashman and Boone, but what about the people behind the scenes? And again, I'm not asking for someone to be fired, but you hear the names of the analytics guys. You hear the names of some of the trainers they brought in over the years. So whose head is going to roll? Someone's head has to roll this because everyone went into this saying this Yankees team has a chance to go to the World Series and make a deep run, and here they are. They're not going to make the playoffs because, honestly, they don't have a 10-game win streak in them because they don't have the pitching. Their offense is too inconsistent, and so is their bullpen.
Right. I think you can point fingers at literally every part of this organization this year. And I was thinking Boone might be the scapegoat here, but like you said, it's not his fault. He's working with the roster that he has. Maybe he's made some questionable decisions with the bullpen or lineup construction or whatever it may be. So he is part of it. But it's the roster that Brian Cashman constructed. It's the money that owner Hal Steinbrenner invested. It's the guys behind the scenes, like you said, the scouting department, the analytics, the coaching staff. And quite frankly, it goes down, and the biggest finger probably should be pointed at the players, right? I mean, the Yankees never anticipated that Giancarlo Stanton, DJ LeMahieu, Josh Donaldson, who's out of the picture right now, these veterans, Anthony Rizzo, they'd be having the worst seasons of their careers and regressing across the board. And in a year where Aaron Judge misses 2 months of the season and Garrett Cole is having a Cy Young caliber year, Judge has been a star when he's been healthy. And right now he's playing through a torn ligament in his right big toe. He's going out there and doing his best. It's the rest of this roster, the guys surrounding them, that have been incredibly inconsistent the whole year. Or you could say that they've been consistently mediocre, right? Because they're 500, but they've been 500 in their last 226 games, going back to the early parts or middle parts of last season. They're 113 and 113. So this isn't something new necessarily. And like you said, they don't necessarily have that run in them, right? If it's going to take a 90-win season to pass the Blue Jays for that final spot in the wild card race, they've got to play 18 games over 500 to get to 90 wins over their last 42 games. I don't think they have that in them. I don't know about you guys, but they haven't proven that they can do that.
No, we don't think so. That's why we put the tombstone up with the old Yankees hat and the date of today. Although we said it on the weekend, last Friday, they were done. If Cashman goes, which I don't think he should be fired, I don't think that's fair to a guy that's done so much. What is his biggest misstep? The team he's created, or the people that I think should be fired that he's hired to be put in this situation? I'm not talking about Booney. I think Booney and Cashman should stay. I think they should get next year yet. But the people he in the last few years, and I was there before, I saw some people taking roles and creating the team that they wanted to create. Because you have, let's get everybody that hits the ball as hard as possible on the team. They picked everybody up. They had Gallo, Judge, other guys that were hitting the ball super hard, sinker slider pitchers. And that's what's created this roster. So what's his biggest misstep? Hiring those people or allowing them to sign those people?
I think it was pretty telling the other day when, they're getting blown out by the Braves, and a couple of the reporters in the clubhouse were asking, what is it about this Atlanta team that's different from yours? And Boone was saying that it's a balanced lineup, and it's pretty simple, right? But the Braves put the ball in play, they string hits together, and yes, they have the guys that can hit mammoth home runs and test the limits of StatCast with exit velocity and barrel rate and all that good stuff. But they're just a cohesive and comprehensive offense, and we really haven't seen that from the Yankees this year. I'll answer your question from my perspective and being around the players in that room and seeing the team play every day. I think it's the decisions that Cashman made, and maybe it's the background information that influenced him to maybe make some mistakes, and some things you can't always control in terms of injuries. But going out there and getting Frankie Montas, it really didn't work out. Going out there and getting Joey Gallo and Josh Donaldson, both of those trades didn't work out. It's like you said, he's built a tremendous product here, and the Yankees have had a winning record and been a postseason team for much of his tenure. They've had a winning record every year in his tenure, except possibly this year. But in these last couple of years, this roster that's been built has been the reason why they've fallen flat and they haven't been able to achieve their expectations. I mean, the expectation here is they win a World Series, right? And right now they're clinging to a 3% chance of making the playoffs, according to Fangraphs, with a month and a half left in the season. That's a testament to an organization that, like I said, I think you can point fingers up and down that guys just haven't done the right thing. And is it their fault? Is it bad luck? Is it just a perfect storm of everything going wrong? I think that it's a case study for years to come with a team that has the second highest payroll in the major leagues.
Okay, so let me ask you this then, since we're trying to place blame, but I mean, I hate placing blame on one person or one thing. Can we say this as someone that covers the Yankees every day? And this is not on Stanton. When they made the move for Stanton, that progressively put him on the road to where they are now. Because of his contract, and listen, I'm for the players getting every dollar they can. But everyone said this. When the Yankees made that move for the Marlins, Derek Jeter was laughing because he's like, ha, you guys just took our biggest payroll nightmare off of us from the previous ownership, and we gave it to the Yankees. And the Yankees took it. And at the time, it was, Stanton, Judge, Torres at the time, right? And then they go get Gallo, and everyone's thinking, man, this team can just hit homers and outmash everybody. Then you bring in Garrett Cole. But to me, that is when I look at it, that's kind of when, because I think he came after 2017, right? When they lost to the Astros in the cheating thing, the whole deal. So after that, it's kind of been a slow decline for the Yankees every year, I feel like. And was that the start of it? And again, it's not Stanton's fault. He didn't want to get traded. He signed the deal he signed. But that was kind of where, like Kratz was saying, whoever made that move, whether it was Cashman or the analytics department, kind of started the trend down for the Yankees.
Well, they invested quite a bit of money in Stanton, right? And it's a player that, as good as he can be, and when he's on and he goes on those stretches where he is the best hitter on the planet, and sometimes it's a little confounding because he has such a unique swing, and you guys can speak to this. Like sometimes it looks like he's lost at the plate and his timing is completely out of whack, but then other times he looks like the best hitter ever. And he's able to hit these 500-foot home runs. So the thought process was there, right? You're putting another all-time slugger, generational, prodigious power type of guy into that lineup with Aaron Judge, but the balance around it wasn't there either. And when Stanton's missing time every single season with lower body, soft tissue type injuries, maybe more of Judge's injuries have been unlucky, hit by pitches, running into the concrete slab at the bottom of a wall at Dodger Stadium. That's another reason here, because you're investing all of that money, and then that's going to be a detriment to the depth that you have around that player. And then you go into last offseason, and you had to bring Judge back. You brought Rizzo back. But the offense that was their downfall in the playoffs last year, they didn't address it. And they brought in Carlos Rodon as another ace, and that didn't work out either. He missed 3 months of the season with injuries. So, like I said earlier, it is just a perfect storm here. And as much as the Yankees are a multi-billion-dollar organization, they've shown that they don't want to exceed that final luxury tax threshold. And as much as their payroll is right up there at $300 million, it's not like they can just pay for everybody and go absolutely bonkers with the payroll, higher than they already are. That seems like their track record here in the last couple of years. So when you're paying as much as you are to Stanton, you're paying as much as you are to Cole and Judge and some of the veterans like Donaldson and Severino, they've got some of that money coming off the books. LeMahieu's contract isn't aging well. That's going to be a detriment to the rest of the roster, right? Because you don't have as much money to work with. And I think that's part of the reason why they didn't go all in at the trade deadline and make some moves, because they didn't have the financial space to make that happen.
Okay. Name me a player on the Yankees, and I know Judge was out for a while, that's having a good year. Can you name me a position player-wise? Because I'm looking at the stats right now. Gleyber Torres leads the Yankees with OPS at 766. I mean, that 766, that's a slightly above average player, right? I mean, Rizzo, I know, had the concussion thing. Stanton's missed time. Judge has missed time. But they always were able to find guys. LeMahieu, OPS 691. Volpe, 680. These are below average players. Donaldson hasn't done anything. I know they lost Trevino, but Higashioka and hasn't done much, right? I mean, there's fans that say IKF, who has taken a beating all year, is their best player. Can you imagine a scenario where we're in August, August 16th today, and Yankee fans are saying IKF, and they're defending IKF, who previously they have just massacred, is their best player?
Right. I was going to say Gleyber Torres, but then I was going to note IKF as well. And so I'll go in that order. Torres' numbers have been great in Yankee standards, and he's been an above average hitter at a premium position in second base. I think that some of the criticism with his base running and the errors, maybe that's amplified because of just how bad the season has gone as a whole for everybody. It's been a resurgent season for Torres, and I think that they have a decision to make there because he's entering now. Next year will be his final year under contract. Do you want to extend him? Do you want to trade him? Maybe open up a spot for one of your youngsters like Oswald Peraza coming up behind him, who hasn't played. Maybe he's turning into one of those prospects that the Yankees just haven't given that opportunity to. I heard, Eric, your comments on Davey the other day. We're starting to get to that territory, Estevan Florial, with someone like Peraza. But I digress. Gleyber's had a good year, but that's a testament also to the guys around him and the fact that the offense has not been the Bronx Bombers, a team synonymous with blowing teams out and putting up crooked numbers. They haven't been doing that. So that's why Torres has been leading the way. He's been pretty consistent. But Kiner Falefa is really one of the stories of the entire season because, like you alluded to, he was a failure at shortstop last year. He'll be the first one to tell you. He's the most accountable and candid player in that clubhouse. And he is such a team first guy, also in his final year, a walk year here. And he's showing that he can play multiple positions. He's versatile. He's even pitched a little bit. And he's hitting, I don't have the stat offhand, but I think it's pretty much 300 since very early in the season, maybe like mid-May. The only guy on the Yankees with a runners in scoring position average over 300. So he's taking advantage with guys on second and third. He's driving runs in. He's starting rallies. He's playing good defense at third. He has had a tremendous season. And those are the kinds of things that you would see from the Yankees as peripheral players. But this year, it's just been him and Torres as the only consistent and reliable producers on offense.
So, Max, how much turmoil do you think will be created in the offseason? So I'm going to give you a little context here because our YouTube chat is always full of insight, and especially on this case in this conversation. Ben Ruda is in the chat right now, who played in the Yankees minor league system recently, and he threw a few comments out there. I fully expect them to clear house in the minor leagues. All the coaches were brought in by Dylan Lawson and the analytics guys. Lawson's the hitting coach who was let go. They will change developmental culture back to old Yankees days. Keep in mind, I played in the Yanks org before analytics, 2016 to 18, and then after 18 to 20. Stark difference in developments. I asked for an example. He said, here's all you need to know. In 2020, before COVID hit spring training, we played a game called pitchers versus hitters. The only way to score a point was to walk or hit a ball 95 miles an hour plus, and there's no baseball being taught there anymore. No base running, moving runners, fundamentals, etc. Your thoughts, and have you heard of any dissension between what's going on there with Cashman going overboard on numbers and analytics guys and then saying, like, here's Brian Sabian, here's Omar Minaya, here's Sean Casey? Seems like there's a lot of shit going on behind the scenes.
Right, and that's what I was going to say. You bring Casey in. Andy Pettitte is here with the Yankees in Atlanta. It seems like they're starting to go back to the just pure baseball minds and maybe go a little bit away from the analytics first type of mentality. And, Lawson, I think he was a scapegoat for an offense that the players just were not producing. But it's true, right? I mean, his mentality was hit strikes hard. And the Yankees were very reliant on the home run, which good teams are. But when you have a toxic relationship with the three true outcomes, and that's Joey Gallo in a nutshell, the walk, the strikeout, and the home run, it's no surprise to see the Yankees having the second worst batting average in all of baseball this year. They're hitting .232 as a team, and they're not recently they have, but they're not walking as much as they have in the past, and they're not stringing guys together. Rallies and crooked numbers are very rare right now with this team, which you look back to their last championship back in 2009, look at the stats that team had. I mean, the bottom of their order was still tremendous. And you've got guys putting up career years and stringing hits together and making pitchers uncomfortable. We're not seeing that at all with this team. On what was it, TBS or TNT last night, the post-game show, Pedro Martinez called the Yankees Chihuahuas. And you get that vibe based on looking how the other teams are playing. And then you look into the Yankees dugout and they have these blank stares and they just seem like a lifeless dead team walking. And yes, it still is in front of them, right? They could go on a run. It's possible. They're mathematically in it. And they do have on paper the type of talent to succeed here. But as I've been saying, I'm beating this drum here. They haven't proven that they can do that. So it would be miraculous for them to go on that kind of run and sneak into the playoffs. And then are they going to go deep into October? If that happens, it's hard to see it.
How can it be changed? Because that Ben Ruda, who was just commenting there, I remember his name from being with the Yankees organization. Like, how can this be changed? Because he is spot on. I don't know about the games that they were playing, but he's spot on. And that's kind of what I was alluding to with Davey is I don't think Matt Blake killed him. I don't think Matt Blake hurt his chances. It was the guys that they put with him at the alt site, pitching coaches that didn't know what it was like to pitch in the big leagues. And I'm not saying you have to know what it's like, but you have to be able to ask other people. And you have to be able to grow those guys and cultivate those guys. And they haven't been able to call guys up from the minor leagues to help a team that's struggling So where do the Yankees go from here? You can't get rid of everybody but Judge and Cole. And Rizzo, will be back when his concussion is done. If it's done, where do they go from here?
That's the issue, right? Because as much as Cole and Judge and the other stars on this team are superstars in the primes of their careers, it's only going to last for so much time, right? And at a certain point, those guys are not going to be as good as they are right now. Cole has an opt-out after next year. Would he consider going out and testing the open market? It certainly seems like he'd get a raise if he did that. Obviously, Judge is the captain. He's not going anywhere. But that's the issue with what we're talking about here. If it's going to take a step back in the depths of the farm system and the organization, and maybe a bit of a reversal in philosophy behind closed doors, that might take some time for you to start to reap the benefits of it, and the repercussions of maybe years of poor decisions and what's being said behind the scenes. You're seeing that right now in a division, right? That it's going to be hard for them to win this division for the next decade. It seems like the Orioles aren't going to go anywhere. They're not even reaching their peak with the prospects that they have coming up. The Rays aren't going anywhere. The Blue Jays are still there. And the Red Sox are, competitive as much as I think the Yankees might end up having a better record than them at the end of the year. They're there too, right? I mean, this is not the time for the Yankees to take a step back, and it wouldn't be Yankee-like for them to maybe go into a rebuild or have a soft rebuild. And that's part of the reason why they didn't trade guys away and totally wave the white flag at the trade deadline earlier. So to answer your question, I'm not really sure. I'm sure that they're thinking about that behind the scenes right now and trying to scramble and figure out how they can attack this offseason, because it's a pivotal offseason for this team. You don't want to waste another year of Judge and Cole in 2024. So you've got to make the right moves, the right signings with whatever financial space that they do end up having, and maybe bring in some fresh minds to try to spark this club and hit the ground running in 2024.
Max, thanks for all the insight, man. Really good combo. And yeah, on the fun side too, it's all sports. But I think we did it right on the eulogy. That's it.
Yeah,
that's it.
If that
put a damn fork in them, baby.
If that game is true that Ben Ruda told us about, that is the craziest thing I ever heard, because that's not teaching guys shit.
You would have lost your mind.
Oh, because I didn't walk and I didn't hit the ball hard. I never would have scored a point.
You wouldn't have made it in the big leagues then on the Yankees.
I didn't want to make it on the Yankees anyways.
Max, thank you, dude. You're great. So love following what you're doing, and we'll talk to you maybe in the offseason.
Sounds like a plan. Thanks so much for having me, guys. Have a good one.
Thank you. You too. Max Goodman. You can follow him at Max T. Goodman, and he covers the Yanks for NJ Advanced Media. So that's NJ.com and the Star Ledger. And for our Cookie Pop Candy Pop fam, visit cookiepopcandypop.com. Enter code FOULBALL, FOULBALL, for 20% off. We'll swing back and look at the NL and AL Rookie of